from Affluent Seamless Sinks, Revolutionary Design and Unique Advantages in Sink Design. This was very interesting, that sink design has not changed for over 50 years. I learned that on your site, Dan. I thought that was really interesting. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got involved in sinks.
Well, I'm an inventor, and I'm always looking for ways to improve things and to make them simple. And that's, if I have a gift, it's this ability to simplify things, to really get it down to its essence. And with the kitchen sink, there were some things that bothered me about it. In my part of the world, there's a seam at the bottom of the sink, and it tends to get kind of red. It gets this reddish mold, and it gets dark from coffee stains and whatnot, and you have to clean it, or else it just looks really ratty.
Exactly.
And I think people have just learned to kind of put up with it. And like it's always been that way. It's always going to be that way. And then there were a host of other things that just bothered me about the kitchen sink. The fact that the splash guard, at least in my home, was permanent. That splash guard is the thing on the disposer that's under the sink. It keeps the water from splashing back.
Right.
It's a black rubber thing, and it gets hideously dirty.
Right.
And it smells, and anytime something goes in, you have to put your hand through it, and it's just pure slime. And that bothered me. And what else?
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, it's one of those things you just kind of put up with, but you're always rinsing your hand off afterwards, going, "Man, who put the dime down there?" You know. Yeah.
Well, I always have this fear, that it's automatically going to get turned on, the garbage disposal, and then you're going to lose a finger. I mean, it's stupid, but that's always in the back of my head. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's a pretty good fear. I've got the same fear.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think that's psycho at all. That's just normal. Who wants to lose an elbow?
Right, thanks.
Something else that kind of bothered me, I mean, I'm not, under the sink, I always have that black plastic plug that seals the disposer. So, it started off with one concept. It started off, I was going by the sink, and I got this awareness kind of, this thought came to me that said, it's more complicated than it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I just stopped in my tracks. I mean, I stopped dead in my tracks, and I thought, wow. So I went over to my chair, got my paper out like I do. I'm an inventor, I started just drawing and stuff. And then it just started to come to me that, wow, this is so easy to fix.
Mm-hmm.
And then I spent the next 6 months trying to figure out why the big sink companies weren't doing it. Because it's so simple. If your audience doesn't know what I'm talking about, since like 1920, back in the old days when you did dishes, you filled a pan up with water from the well outside, and when you were done, you would throw the water outside.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody said, wouldn't Mom love it if we put a drain in the bottom so she didn't have to throw it outside? So they put a drain in the bottom. And so ever since then, sink manufacturers would punch a 3.5-inch hole in the bottom of the sink after it's pressed. And then the plumber shows up and fixes that hole. He puts the drain in, and he puts plumber's putty, which is this sort of yellowish tan-looking clay in the bottom of the sink. He puts the flange in it, and then he squeezes it together in a variety of different ways. It usually takes him about half an hour. It takes do-it-yourself for about an hour or two.
Mm-hmm.
It would take me 2 hours, and then it would leak, and all the logos would be crooked. So it's been that way since like 1927. For almost 100 years, people and plumbers have been putting things together that way. And I just kept thinking, man, this is so easy to fix. There must be a reason why the sink manufacturers aren't doing it. And so it would just keep going. What we did, so your audience knows, is we punched a 2-inch hole in the bottom of that sink instead of a 3.5-inch hole. And during the forming, we press this thing that looks like an ice cream cone, it's steel, down through the sink, and it takes that 2-inch hole and extends it into a cylinder. So, and then we flare that out, put a rubber seal on it. We use a C-clamp to connect everything, so we are able to undermount the drain and the disposer fittings under the sink.
Nice.
Okay, and so what you end up with is a very sanitary sink bottom. You don't have the seam any longer. So if I can repeat that, what we did is we got rid of the seam in the bottom of the sink. If you don't mind me mentioning this, Deanna, on our website, if they were to go to my website right now and just type in seamlesssink.com.
Yep.
SEAMLESSSINK.com, seamlesssink.com. You'll see a picture of it. You'll get it right there.
Yeah,
that's
and
kind of the idea.
There's the video, too, of the 90-second install. You really have an excellent website, and everyone, there's going to be a link, on the After Show blog that'll take you right there. One, it is a beautiful sink, but this 90-second install video, I just thought that was really cool. So go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so it gets rid of the seam, and which was unsanitary.
Mm-hmm.
It hooks. A plumber can do it in like 2 minutes now. He can hook up the drain and disposer. It fits all disposers except for, they're called batch feed, where you have to put a plug in the bottom of the sink. Okay. And it turns it on, like people who are really afraid of hurting their fingers.
Yeah.
There's a plug that turns on. It won't fit those.
Okay.
It's almost idiot-proof because the clamps won't go on unless it's snapped in properly. So It's not going to leak. And then I took the time. I mean, I'm sitting here. I remember I was like halfway through this process. Actually, we were almost all the way through it. And I thought to myself, am I going to stop here, or am I going to address the other things that bother me about the sink? And I thought, you know what? Let's make this a symphony. Mm-hmm. Let's take it all the way. So. The splash guard, we started there. I mean, first of all, we said, look, it's silly to have it permanently installed.
Right.
Let's make it so you can remove it. So we send 2 with every sink. So while one is in the dishwasher being sanitized, the other one's in the sink. And you can rotate them, rinse them off. It's much more sanitary. The second thing we did is the strainer basket. Right now in the bottom of a double wall sink, you've got a strainer basket on one side, and if you want to plug the other side, the disposer side, you put a plug in it.
Right.
So we designed the splash guard with an oversized seal.
Okay.
So if you put it in where the disposer is and turn it, it seals it. It seals the disposer. So you have a matched set of strainer baskets in the bottom of the sink. It's not hodgepodge any longer.
Got it.
You don't have an incinerator thing, one brand on one side and another brand on the other side. It's a coordinated set, and they're matched, finished so that they match the sink. If I was a designer and I told my client to put this, very nice sink in, and then I showed up and there was a disposer logo in the bottom of my very expensive sink, I'd be upset.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be upset. It's like, what the heck? But the plumber doesn't know. He just shows up and puts in what's the cheapest thing he's got, unless you tell him. And who's going to be there to tell him? So, with this system, it's everything. First of all, is 100% stainless steel. So you're not going to have something that's going to chip or tarnish. I've seen flanges before. I don't know how this happens, but they turn orange. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't, but I can imagine.
I swear to the God above me. It was actually an LK rep. It wasn't an LK